Good morning, good afternoon and good evening all. I hope you are well. This is Yorkie065 and I'm bringing you episode 7 of my in-depth track guide. For this episode we're looking at Monaco, and as usual I'll be showing you a time trial hot lap followed by a breakdown with braking points and also the apexes of each corner, and I'll also do a general tips session and how to set up the car for the track, both race and time trial. So here's the lap. Okay, so now that the lap's over, let's move on to the breakdown. The start of the lap is quite difficult as it leads you straight into the final corner. You want to take it relatively steady going into the entrance, and then get hard on the power and also drain your curves, get your DRS open and keep to the left as you come down the start-finish straight. As we approach turn 1, we're looking here at the 2 dark markings on the floor, and that we're going to make our braking point for this first corner. There's a nasty bump on the entrance to the corner, so you want to brake relatively hard, shift it down into second gear. Just as you come over the bump, you're going to flip the car in and aim to get your front right wheel just here on the inside curb. It is quite easy to lock your wheels coming over that bump, so make sure that you get your braking done well before it and before the entrance to the corner. Upon exit, you want to shift it up into third gear, get your DRS open and use about 15% of your curves as we come up the hill, past turn 2 into turn 3. This white line, the zebra crossing, is what we're going to use as our braking point for this fast sweeping left-hander. As you hit this, you're going to use the brakes ever so slightly, shift it down into 5th gear and then use one of 2 apexes. The first one is here at the end of the red and white curbs on the inside, and the second is further around the bend on the exit just as the barrier starts to straighten up for the right hander, just here on the inside, marked with the cross. You can use both, but generally it's quicker to use one or the other. As you come in, flick it into the right hander. You want to try and keep it in 4th gear and aim to get your front right wheel here, just off the curb. As you can see, I came awfully close to the barrier on the inside, trying to save as much time as possible. Upon the exit, you're going to straighten the wheel and open up your DRS. You're then going to use the braking point here, roughly halfway between the 2 white drains that are visible here on the floor. You're going to brake hard down into turn 5, shifting it down into 1st gear. You're going to turn the car in, aiming to get as close to the barrier on the inside as possible, using the white cyclist sign on the floor as reference for your apex. Hitting this point, you're going to accelerate out of the corner, shifting it up into 2nd gear, shift it into 3rd, open your DRS momentarily before using the braking point marked here with the end of the white bay parking on the right hand side as reference. As we hit our braking point, we're going to shift it back down into 1st gear and take it very, very slow and steady. We're going to turn the car in, aiming to get our front left wheel just here, ever so slightly off the curb on the inside. You want to be quite cautious and smooth with the throttle, as it's very easy to accelerate too hard and run out to the barrier on the outside. As we approach turn 7, you're going to bring the car over to the left and then turn it in, aiming to get your front left wheel here, just off the curb. Stay off the curb on the inside, as there's a nasty bump and it will send the car sideways, stepping out the rear end. Upon exit, you're going to flick open the DRS and then brake ever so slightly for turn 8. You're going to turn it in. You want to try and get your front right wheel as close to the barrier on the inside. You can maintain a surprising amount of speed through this corner, but make sure to miss the barrier on the outside and use a bit of curb as well. Get your DRS open, drain your curves down to about 50%. DRS closes automatically for the tunnel, so you need to reopen it again upon exit. And then you're going to look for your braking point just here at the 100 meter board where the hill crests and drops down towards the chicane. As you hit the braking point coming over the crest, you're going to brake hard and shift it down into first gear. You're going to turn the car in, aiming to get the front left wheel as close to the barrier on the inside, but our eyes are looking at the curbs here in the second part of the chicane. What we're aiming to do is aim at that curb, get your front right wheel just here on the inside, cutting the chicane ever so very slightly and trying to straight line the exit of this chicane to give yourself a good run out of it. So you get your power down, use a bit of your curves, roughly about 15% again, open up your DRS, and we're going to now approach turn 12. Using the braking point here just after the 50 meter board, you're going to brake very slightly, shift it down into 5th, maybe 4th if you need it. Turn ever so slightly as there's a big bump on the inside which can unsettle the car, but you want your front left wheel as close to the barrier as possible. Let the car run out wide upon exit, open up the DRS and then keep it open as you come through the swimming pool chicane, miss the first curb and then run over the second. As we come into the tighter turns of 15 and 16, we're going to use a braking point just here before the shadow, just before the bridge. Hitting the braking point, we're going to brake quite hard and we shift it down into second gear. We're going to turn the car in, aiming to get our front right wheel as close to the barrier as possible, but once again our eyes are looking past that and looking at the bollard in the second part, the left-hander of this chicane. As we come through, we're going to start to get on towards the power. You're aiming to get your front left wheel just here, just to the right of the bollard, taking the curb quite nicely. Upon exit, you want to straighten up the wheel, get your DRS open and accelerate towards turns 17 and 18. Just before the dark marking on the board is our braking point for this tight hairpin. You're going to hit this, brake relatively smoothly as it's quite easy to lock a wheel, and shift it down into first gear. You're going to turn the car in, aiming to get your front right wheel just off the curb here on the inside, as it's quite easy to knock the rear end of the car up against the barrier, causing you to go into a spin. As we come out the exit, we're going to open up the DRS momentarily, and we're going to look for our braking point just before the end of the barrier on the left hand side for the final corner. We're going to hit this, we're going to brake down into second gear. You want to turn relatively late just as you're passing over the shadow of the tree, aiming to get your front right wheel just here on the inside, aiming to get relatively close or as close as possible to the barrier on the inside and try and straight line that exit, accelerating hard, using the rest of the curves and draining your DRS, this time keeping to the right hand side of the start finish straight to complete your lap. And crash into the barrier. So the first tip that I have for you is to be wary of the bump on the entry to turn 1. If you're braking whilst coming over this bump, it will lock your front wheels, so try and get your braking done before it. It's generally better to be smoother and slower through the entry of the corner and get a good exit. The second tip is down at turn 7. Again, like I said in the video, avoid the curb on the inside as it will send you into a spin. The final tip is turn 12. It's a fast left-hander and there is a bump on the inside, and if you hit that whilst turning too much, it will step out the rear end of the car and turn you into a spin, more than likely putting you in the wall and damaging your front wing. Generally, Monaco is a very dangerous track with very little overtaking, so don't try and force your way past cars as it risks your own front wing as well as others, and also can possibly put you out of the race. So with that in mind, play the longer, smoother and steady game and rely on others around you to make the mistakes and force themselves to make pit stops to fix their wings. Hopefully this video was useful for you guys. If it was, please give it a rating. Also leave any comments or questions that you may have, and make sure to subscribe as there will be plenty more track guides coming in the future. Also, if you haven't already, feel free to subscribe to my Twitter and see all the general crap that I post on there, and also any video updates and news that I have for the channel. Until next time, take care.